So example 5, solve an absolute value equation involving a quadratic expression. So we're going to solve the absolute value of x squared minus 2x, that's your quadratic expression, and that's equal to 1. So we'll take a look at case 1, being x squared minus 2x is greater than and equal to 0, and then case 2, where x squared minus 2x is less than 0. Okay, so on to case 1. We want to take a look at where x squared minus 2x is greater than 0. So that's positive. We're going to make it equal to 1. It's a quadratic, so set the whole thing equal to 0. The 1 becomes negative on the left. And it's not factorable. There are no two factors that will multiply to give me negative 1 and add to give me negative 2, so I'm going to use the quadratic formula. So A is 1, B is negative 2, and C is negative 1. We plug that into the formula. X is equal to negative B, so negative times negative 2, plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 1. I'll divide it by 2 times 1. So we get that negative 2 is positive 2, plus and minus. When we simplify what's inside the radical sign, we get 8 all over 2. All right, we want to simplify the square root of 8. That gives us 2 root 2, divide it by 2, and now we can reduce all of our 2's, but let's factor the 2 out of the numerator. This would be a better way to do it, and we get 1 plus and minus root 2 over 2, and then we can reduce our 2's, and so x is equal to 1 plus and minus root 2. Okay, so that means we have that x is equal to 1 plus the square root of 2, and x is equal to 1 minus the square root of 2. Okay, and then we go to where x squared minus 2x is less than 0, meaning it's negative, so we want the negative part of our value of that, and we make that equal to 1. We're not going to divide both sides by negative 1 because it doesn't make... Oh, we could actually. Let's do that. So we get x squared minus 2x equals negative 1. Bring the negative 1 over to the right, or the left, it becomes positive. And this we can factor. There are two factors of positive 1 that will give you negative 2. And so we get x and x. The factors of 1 are 1 and 1. We want them both to be negative. Okay. So negative 1 plus negative 1 is negative 2, and negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. And notice we have two equal roots, so we just have to write down one of them. And we get that x is equal to 1. Okay, so now we're going to verify. So we will do that over here. We will start by verifying where x is equal to 1 plus the square root of 2. Remember to plug it into the original equation. So we're going to have 1 plus the square root of 2 squared minus 2 times 1 plus the square root of 2, and that's equal to 1. Okay, when we FOIL 1 plus the root of 2, we are going to get 1 plus 2 root 2 plus 2, and then we're going to distribute the negative 2 over 1 plus root 2, so we get negative 2 minus root 2, and that's equal to 1. Okay, simplify what we can inside the bracket, so positive root 2, well, this should be a 2, by the way, because 2 times the root of 2 is 2 root 2. That cancels with that, and then positive 2 with negative 2. So we're left with 1, and so the absolute value of 1 is equal to 1. All right, so that works. Let's verify with x is equal to 1 minus the square root of 2. Okay, so into the original equation we're going to get 1 minus root 2 squared minus 2 times 1 minus root 2 absolute value equals 1. Okay, so we're going to FOIL 1 minus root 2 squared. We get 1 minus 2 root 2 plus 2 minus 2 times 1, which is 2, and negative 2 times negative 2 root 2 is positive 2 root 2. We can cancel out our 2 root 2's and our 2's. We are left with the absolute value of 1 is equal to 1, so 1 equals 1. Okay, and then let's do our last one. We verify with x equals 1. Plug it into the original equation, we get absolute value of 1 squared minus 2 times 1, and that's equal to 1. So 1 squared is 1, 2 times 1 is negative 2, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, and that gives us the absolute value of negative 1 equals 1, so we get 1 equals 1. Okay, so they all work. And so the solutions are x equals 1, x equals 1 plus the square root of 2, and x equals 1 minus the square root of 2. All right, so we can also show our solution graphically. All right, so the absolute value of the quadratic function, which is the blue graph, is y1, and the red graph is y equals 1, so that is y2. If we go to look for our x-intercepts, we will have one at negative 0.41 and 1. We will get 1 at 1 and 1. And we will get 1 at 2.41 and 1. Okay, so yes. So what are we concerned with? We're concerned with our x coordinates. So this one, and this one. All right. So we get that x here is equal to negative 0.41. We get that x is equal to 1 here, and we get that x is equal to 2.41 here. Okay, and if we take a look at the solutions that we have in radical form, 1 plus the square root of 2, that's going to give us 2.41. And 1 minus the square root of 2 is going to, these are approximate values, right? That's going to give us about negative 0.41. Okay, so we can see that they agree with the solutions that we have, and so the solutions are about negative 0.41 and 2.41 and the end.